Hello and welcome back to the Student StarCraft AI tournament. My name is Shonko from makingcomputerdothings.com and I have Nightcat with me yet again. Hi Nightcat.
Hey Sanka, thanks for having me.
Well, we are co-casting this, so it is a question who's having who, but let's get into it. So, what do we know about this new bot on the block here, Slater?
From what I've heard about Slater, it has some pretty decent Reaver and shuttle control, which is something that you don't see usually from new bots. It usually takes a long time for an author to put that in, so I'm excited to check that out. I haven't actually seen any games with it.
Yeah, definitely. That's usually reserved for advanced bots, and I didn't really check out the standings on the ladder, but it's definitely not at the end of the pack. And the enemy here is Martin Reckers, aka Litabot, who is an accomplished and old bot on the scene. Maybe not one of the top bots right now, but it has a few tricks in the sleeve.
Yeah, I think or at least the biggest stumbling block that I've seen from Letabot is its army getting caught up on ramps or on little corners.
Oh, I seem to recall that too. And we have a quick cyber core here, it seems, so no army units for either play. Well, not true, Letabot has some marines, but not moving out, just defending. And Slater is just building up the infrastructure, it seems. It is at a little bit of a vulnerable position, but the Terran player is not attacking.
Yeah, I find that interesting too, that Letabot's Marines are chilling over by the command center instead of by the wall. I wonder if he would actually move those if the wall was being harassed.
I think that's maybe a wrong rally point or something, and a nice ram defense from Slater in the meantime. Not much else. Let me speed this up. Nice walling off from Leta. No wall except these two goons. Okay, and something starting to happen. The goons spread out and scout the map all at once, it seems. I mean, they go into different directions and scout that way. I like seeing that. And now one of them is chilling at the natural of Beta.
Yeah, thinking about it, I'm not sure if we saw Probe actually go out and scout for Slater.
I think, yeah, there was no probe scouting. Now there is a marine and tank army from Beta, but it is not moving out. It has its weird rallies. First the main command center and now the second command center, which I expect to be floated down here to the natural. And nice defense, of course. And finally the gate opens and they move out and eventually take the natural, I guess. Slater is expanding too.
It's cool to see the Dragoons that were scattered all across the map after those tanks fired from the high ground and saw buildings. They went, oh, the enemy's here, and then they all just converged on this natural.
Not really doing a good job of staying out of tank range, I must say. So a lot of goons are lost in this choke. Well, it's not really a choke at this point.
Yeah, probably could have done some more damage if the goons ran up on the tanks there because they were bunched together, but still would have suffered losses and probably wouldn't have.
I don't know if Slater could have broke this, probably not, but definitely could have done more damage than this. Now goons are streaming in one by one, and I don't think that's very helpful. And we have some air defense from Leta. I don't know if Leta scouted anything, to be honest. Or maybe this is just a standard SimCity. It's a very defensive one. You can see that units have a hard time getting into the mineral line. And now we have the first River and Scout combo. So I'm curious how that will turn out.
Yeah, and looking at the turret layout too, it doesn't look like it's defending from anything in particular. It's pretty spread out. So it could be kind of just general DT and shuttle defense.
Could be, but one turret is not really enough for drop defense, I think. Well, I was just proven wrong, but that's more Slater's fault than mine in this case, if I might say that.
Yeah, the way that shuttle was moving, it looked like it didn't have shuttle speed. so it couldn't really react very quickly to the turn.
Yeah, I think it didn't react at all. It just moved in, dropped the river, and moved out unsuccessfully. And there are a lot of places here when the drop could have happened, and just, I mean, drop it here and start blasting down, and you are outside turret range. But maybe Slater is not that aware of threats right now. And pretty much the same thing is going on. Goons are streaming in, and the tanks are rolling out. And I think we can all predict where this is going now.
Yeah, goons versus a group of tanks like that is generally not going to be good for you.
Well, any ground unit versus a group of tanks is generally a one-sided battle. Except maybe a overwhelming majority of Zerglings. But then again, it's about cost efficiency.
Yeah, well, High Templars can sometimes do some work, but I think a full tank can take like one Psy Storm without dying.
Yeah, Psy Storm does 120 damage, and tanks have 150 HPs. So yeah, a healthy tank will not die from one storm. That's why you see double storms often on tank lines. Yeah, the shuttle placement is not very smart.
Yeah, it looks like it gets a shuttle before it gets a Reaver, and then that shuttle just kind of goes to whatever choke point is most forward facing.
It seems to me too that it tries to drop maybe a Reaver when there is no Reaver at all. As most of these shuttles are usually implemented as independent agents. That means that they just try to follow their own stuff and do not communicate with other units. Of course, we don't know if that's what is happening here. And yeah, that's it. And let's jump into the next game.
And for the next game here, we have McRave and another new bot, Queso Bot, playing on Benzene. So we've got Queso, the purple Terran, in the bottom left, and McRave, the orange Protoss, in the top right. So Sanka, what do you know about Queso Bot?
If I'm not mistaken, Queso Bot is one of the new student bots from the University of Bratislava, or a university in Bratislava, and they are relative newcomers to the scene. They just appeared a few weeks ago, even maybe a month ago or so. So definitely one of the student bots. The performance of it I have no idea about. Let's see what it can do. What are we producing?
Oh my.
What is happening?
We look back at I think Queso Bot got a little bit scared by the probe scout here from the crew.
Oh yeah, and shut down. It's just freezing in fear, like it's a deer in the headlights logic. I mean, it's not really an effective one. I don't know what this scout is doing though. Okay, let's speed this up. Maybe this is not a representative play from Queso, so I just grabbed this from the replays channel we have, and maybe it was not a good example of what this bot can do, so let's just search for a next one for it. And this is another replay of Queso Bot, hopefully showcasing its abilities a little bit better than the previous one, and we decided that let's do it some justice. This time the opponent is Ice Lab, which is a quite strong Terran, but that does not mean the game won't be interesting. See, kind of a mirror build here, right?
So far, yeah. Looks like, actually I can't tell who started their barracks first.
They started it about the same time. It is quite possible though that Queso Bot is actually a fork of Ice Lab. I think Ice Lab is open source, right? So you can just fork it. Or maybe I'm confusing it with someone else. The only difference is the placement of the barracks. Ice Lab placed it in the natural.
Well, Queso Bot's description does say that it uses a random selected strategy extracted from replay data set. Only TVT for now, actually, it specifically states. So it could just be possible that it pulled the same strategy that from an Ice Lab replay.
Yeah, that actually seems very likely here, based on what we see. Both bots are building up a factory, but the placement is seems kind of random for Queso bot. Nice.
Actually,
yeah.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, after checking that description, I wonder if that's why in the McRave game it just kind of broke when it saw a probe.
Well, I don't know. I don't know how that can happen. And now we see some kind of divergence here. Ice Lab is expanding while Queso is building up. No, Queso is expanding too. Never mind. But Queso has a little bit more army. That's the only difference right here. So, so far, pretty quiet game.
And I like that Queso bot's units are kind of looking like they're running the, what was it, the Junkyard Dog AI script from the game?
Maybe. And an armory. I don't know if it's definitely neither of them scouted, right? Or did Icebot scout? Ice Lab scout?
I'm pretty sure, yeah, Ice Lab scouted, and then the SCV got killed by Queso bot's Marines, but I don't think a SCV from Queso went out.
No, I don't think so. Maybe Queso just does not have scouting. And the famous high ground tank usage from Ice Lab, which Nepeta never failed to mention that not enough bots do that. And yeah, you should use high ground. It's free real estate for your bot, so. And scouting bit of barracks, nicely done. Lifting the wall here, although I don't think that's a tight wall here. You can, maybe a tank can fit through in the upside here, but definitely a marine could.
Yeah, I think the wall was just, or the quote-unquote wall there was just more for obstruction than for actually blocking.
Yeah, I mean, it's better than nothing. But yeah, it certainly wasn't link tight or anything. And the tank count is higher for Ice Lab, definitely. That wasn't really a successful handling of the tank incursion, I think.
No, not at all. I wonder, can you check the, I think it's the research, if Queso has, yeah, Queso doesn't have siege mode.
Not even spider mines, which could be an advantage here as Ice Lab has no detection on the front. No, he just now finishing the comset station. Although maybe the natural comset station was finished earlier, but other than that, no detection. And the units didn't close in, they just engaged from attack range. Ice Lab did lose a vulture here from friendly fire. But yeah, it seems that Ice Lab got this game in the bag.
Yeah, that bridge did Queso no favors there. But yeah, it's hard to take on tanks with just Marine Vulture.
Yeah, and I think Queso does not have any kind of engagement logic. It's basically A moves units at this point, which is fine. I mean, it is a student bot and it is a new one. This is kind of the level of play you accept from a very new bot, right?
Yeah, and I mean, you can do a lot with a move still, but like the unit composition, TVT is a tricky one to do because it is a lot more about positioning and, you know, what parts of the map you try to keep your opponent out of and give yourself access to. So a move in TVT is a lot more difficult to pull off. There's like a small window when it can still be effective, but that window I think passed when Ice Lab got set up on the bridge there with the tanks.
Absolutely, and that's a very good position to defend. And if you don't have any particular logic to break a tank wall, you're gonna have a bad time. Okay, let's speed this up. I think we all know where this is going.
The SCV murder by all those vultures.
Yeah. Well, rest in peace, the SCVs.
And switching things up a little bit here, we're taking a look at a game with a couple of older bots on the ladder. We have Hao Pan the white Terran, and Adias, the brown Terran in the top left, or also known as, I think, Adias, did we confirm that is SIDA, like resubmitted by Samsung?
It is. I don't know why the name switch and resubmit, but it definitely is the same bot.
Okay.
So yeah, another TVT right here, right now. We grab this from another recommended from the recommended replays, and feel free to join our Discord and recommend replays, or just send us some if you're watching this.
And we've got a nice cross map spawn here, so plenty of distance between the two, plenty of real estate for them to split.
And circuit breakers, yes, it's one of the well, how should I say this, more accomplished maps, however stupid that sounds. It's a tournament favorite, if nothing else. I'm just looking at the army production. Pretty much the bot's doing the same thing. I see a bunker somewhere, but oh yeah, here at the natural.
So it looks like Adias is going for a 1 factory expand, while Halpan is going for a 2 factory play here.
Well, generally in TVT, whoever has more tanks wins, but I really hope that won't be the deciding factor here. And on expansion from areas. Although with Terran you can get away with a lot from one base. I think Terran is the race that can afford the expand the latest, if that makes sense.
Yeah, especially when you're going mech, because I mean vultures cost no gas at all. You just need gas for their upgrades, and then tanks are the only thing that you'll be consuming gas on.
Which still cost a lot of gas, but since they are high value units, you can get away with having relatively few of them. And now these units just scouting, I guess, staying outside of this sieged up tank range, and Hopen is just now taking the natural, so I wouldn't call this a contain at this point, especially... Oh no, siege mode is done. Hopen is just not sieging up right now.
Yeah, and really, if Halpan is just not going to move in, he should be sieged up, so that way when Adios tries to go out, he doesn't lose frames where his tanks have to siege up before they can attack.
Oh, definitely. Generally speaking, your tanks are more useful sieged up than not. So basically, you should have a reason to enter tank mode and not the other way around. At least that's my personal opinion.
Yeah, and I would even argue that Halpan might even be a little overproduced on tanks right now because, well, other than the bunker, like, Adios doesn't have... Well, now he's starting to get Goliaths and stuff, but for a little bit there, all he had were tanks. If he had, like, if Halpan had a large force of vultures, he could just run right next to the tanks, and there'd be nothing to stop them from getting too close.
Oh yeah, but Idias is good at reacting to enemy builds. Oh, and I like that close up on the tank, the sieged up tank. It's another logic that is, I think, relatively easy to implement, and you can get a lot of value from it. And now the bridge is kind of controlled by Hopen. And
yeah, bridges and tanks are the hardest things to push against.
Absolutely. Absolutely, and now a Wraith comes out, but I don't think it will do much damage.
Yeah, with the Goliaths in the mix, the Wraith, I mean, he could maybe try and push back that barracks, but doesn't look like he wants to.
No, not really, and many bots don't bother with killing flying buildings. But, I mean, these Wraiths literally have nothing better to do at this point.
Yeah, it looks like they are finally taking some shots at it, but for the most part, they're just leaving it alone.
Yeah, but it's more like pot shots. It's like when maybe they have no other logic than the default game logic takes over, and then they take some shots.
Yeah. Meanwhile, it does look like Halpan is taking a third behind this.
Oh yeah, let's just check out the supply lines, and Hopen nicely mining up the expansions. I always like to see that. That is logic inherited from Ironbot, I think.
Yeah, and for some reason, Halpan has machine shops on every single one of his factories. I feel like you don't need a machine shop on every one.
Yeah, maybe not. But if you want to produce a lot of tanks, maybe you do. I actually don't have a strong opinion on that. I mean, a machine shop does not cost that much, and you don't lose that much by building one. I know that there are some hyper optimized builds when you just have one machine shop and you always produce the exact same amount of tanks, and also that usually does not work that way.
Yeah, it depends on your gas income too. If you've got the gas income to support producing that many tanks at once, then yeah, sure, get the machine shops. But generally speaking, you only want as many machine shops as tanks you can produce at one time.
Yeah, but you can't predict your income throughout the whole game. So maybe there will be more bases taken and more gas income, and then you want to be ready. And yeah, I really can't say if it's a good idea or not. It depends on so many factors, and I would say it gives you a lot of options. So if you can afford it, why not do it?
Yeah, I like the science facility from Halpan out in his third too.
Yeah. That's a little bit strange, but maybe this base is just full here. Although I would place it somewhere around the natural, maybe. But, well, I mean, it's as safe here as it is in the natural. And we see this large stalemate. Hopan has raids, which don't do anything really. Every now and then they try to snipe a tank, but they get detected and shut down by Goliaths. It's 3 versus 4 bases, although one base is mineral only for Halpan. So we have 3 refineries for Halpan, and likewise 3 refineries for Seda, and neither of those players have a lack of minerals, I think.
Yeah, I wonder how the stalemate is gonna break. They both have a pretty large vulture force at this point. If you want to bring the army tab back up real quick.
Yeah, of course. And composition is pretty similar. I mean, Adios is just starting to have some rates of its own.
Yeah, and Halpan is shorter on the Goliaths, but really he can afford that since he has the many wraiths. So basically the wraiths can complete the same role that Adios's Goliaths were.
Maybe Hopan is a little bit ahead on map control, and shutting down this Butcher here. So that might be the deciding factor, because eventually maybe you can just starve out your opponent. And now there is a science vessel, and the 2 players are situated on both sides of the bridge, so it's whoever loses first, whoever moves first loses, I think. And the Valkyrie, that's nice to see, but I don't know if it's very effective versus this many wraiths.
Yeah, especially with the wraiths so spread out. If they were all clumped together, then yeah, the Valkyrie could do some damage.
Generally, Valkyries are effective against groups, yeah, not just 3 or 4 wraiths mulling about. And now Adios is moving out, well, not very successfully so far. Sieging up on the bridges, blocking its own units and getting blasted down.
Yeah, and they're pretty even on worker count too, but yeah, Halpan is up on the base count. And there's just this flood on them. Looking at the minimap, there's just a flood from the bottom right to the top left.
What
and yeah, it's natural, it's gone.
What did we miss? Oh, there was probably a drop here.
Yeah,
should
probably
we rewind a little bit? I think we should rewind this a little. Oh yeah, there was the drop. So yeah, Seda just did a drop here first. Then I guess it was another drop here. I think let's try to spot the dropship here. Speed this up. I definitely saw a drop here. And the dropship, oh, there are the dropships, and this is a simple yet very effective tactic from Seda. Just go to the very edges of the map and try to sneak in. It's
I mean,
Simple yet elegant.
It's similar to Thomas Vida with the carriers. Just, move them along the edge of the map, and eventually you'll find an enemy to engage with.
Yeah, and it seems that even though Haupan spotted those dropships early and had some anti-air defenses, a lot of raids, Haupan did not react to them properly and quick enough. And now the main is basically depopulated here.
And that also explains the mass migration I saw from bottom right to bottom left on the minimap.
Oh yeah, and I thought they are just shutting down a few vultures here and there, but apparently not. It's I didn't see the dropships on the minimap. They don't really show up, I think, or maybe just hard to spot.
That's hard to see when essentially you have like a black sheep wall cheat on with the OpenBW viewer. Without that vision revealing as the dropship sneaks around, it's hard to spot it.
Oh yeah, that would be a useful feature in this replay viewer, because don't forget that this is high ground here, so SEDA has the high ground advantage, and that's why the constant scanning is going on from Haupan. And even though there are raids, there is sufficient air cover, so I think Haupan just can't really spot this all the time, or can't really have vision on this high ground all the time. And now there is a little bit of flanking, I should say.
Yeah, I mean, that's a better position for Arias to try pushing from. Up there, it does have a much wider ramp to come down to meet Haupan's forces than those two tiny bridges. But he is also, as we're seeing, giving up the bridges, so now Haupan can just come across them and start to harass that natural.
Also say that kind of failed to capitalize on the drop advantage, although there were not many things shut down. I mean, this seems bad, but there were some mining shut down, but the main was low. Taking this natural was a big advantage, but somehow didn't translate into, well, anything.
And looks like we had a defensive matrix there on a tank.
Oh yeah.
To try and save it.
Oh, and that was a... And these tanks are in a very good position still, but maybe what you should do here is just leapfrog your tanks forward. But no, that is not happening.
I think
yeah,
Arias at this point is kind of just fighting from a losing position, because he's... Well, actually, no, they're out. I think they're on about the... Wait, no, it's basically one mining base to two mining bases now, I think. Or maybe three, because I think Haupan has that mid-right.
We have two mining bases here for SEDA, and two mining bases, although one of them is mineral only for Haupan. But starting a new one, and that is a... Oh, there is another started for Haupan here. Considerable advantage that Haupan has a better map control, I feel. I mean, what bases can be taken by SEDA at this point? You can't really take this base, maybe with a dropship. Every other base, if you try to take it, you will get spotted because of the mines. And, oh, there is some attempt here. I mean, a drop attempt from SEDA again.
Yeah, well, something that would be really nice to see from Haupan, because if you look at his mineral count right now, he's at like 4,500, or, well, 4.5k. Like, the vultures are still being very scared of tanks that come in drops and such. Like, just throw the vultures at the tanks.
Yeah,
you have the money to replace them.
Body slam them, and a lot of tanks will just die to friendly fire anyway. And yeah, this is the point when you could easily sacrifice a lot of vultures. And let's not forget that you can't replenish spider mines. So actually, the new vultures can lay more mines. And as crazy it sounds, you should sacrifice your vultures in this position.
Yeah, and also those mines all along those tanks are kind of scaring me, because those mines pop up to hit an enemy and your tanks are gone.
Yep. General wisdom is that you should have a minefield ahead of your tank line, not under it. Because mines don't discriminate.
Yeah, I mean, all those things aside too, Haupan has been doing a very good contain on Arias here, which I am impressed with.
Yeah, but although I think that's kind of Arias' fault at this point. I mean, he can easily break out this way. So yeah, a bullet may have your name on it, but a spider mine is addressed to whomever it may concern. So yeah, let's speed this up because this is more of the same thing happening all over again. I'm trying to spot the drops. I don't think SSCAIT have given up on them, but this is a war of attrition, and Haupan is clearly doing better at this point in time.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, like, what's going to be the tipping point here, where Haupan's able to steam roll over Adias here, or is Adias going to find a way to kind of break this and just gain the momentum it needs to win?
Oh,
It is
yeah.
moving forward a little bit here.
And that's a good position to take here, especially because these are dematrixed tanks, so they can afford to siege up. But Haupan has an overwhelming resource advantage. It feels like that, well, I don't know how good is the mining. It's one mining base and it's a mineral only. I'm trying to spot if these refineries are depleted. Maybe yeah. So no gas income for Adias.
Well, that top mid one still looked fine. I think
No, I don't think. Oh, well, it's hard to tell. No, that's
those
probably
look
a
like normal
proper-
graphics to me. From the, because usually the gases get like small when it's depleted that they're carrying.
Yeah, that's true, but it's hard to spot at this. Yeah, but you're right. That's probably not a depleted geyser. Yep, definitely not. But still, Haupan still have. Although I don't know, there was underdrop here that we missed.
Yeah, I think the bottom left got dropped at some point. I noticed it got cleared
Should
on
have.
the mini map.
Okay, maybe it is the turning point that you spoke of, but we saw that even though the drops are very good, there are no sufficient follow-up for them. Although this tank line is advancing.
Yeah, Adias might have done itself a favor too by not taking its mineral only for so long, because that's kept it with a fresh supply of minerals. Now it's broken out and going into the middle.
And it just goes around the tank line of Haupan here. That's well, that's just a big brain move from Adias's part. And yeah, these vultures don't do anything. Haupan has a lot of minerals. You should just throw vultures at the end. Hell, even marines at this point.
Yeah, I think probably the biggest improvement that Haupan can do, and probably like for late game TVT or just, you know, maybe with a condition, hey, I have a ton of minerals, is just being more aggressive with those vultures.
Well, or more, more aggressive expanding, because if you have 5,000 minerals and you are at maximum supply, you should do something. You should at least blanket the map in missile turrets or something.
I also find it interesting too that while the units in Haupan's natural finally got cleared out, he never rebuilt a command center there, but he's still mining from it.
Yeah, this is long distance mining. This is strange, and this geyser is still operational. It's not depleted. So yeah, rebuilding bases is something maybe Haupan should look into. And this base is not being rebuilt either. And these are actually Adias's units. That's strange.
That drop never got cleared.
No.
Because if you just watch there, like the Wraiths are afraid to engage because of the Goliaths, even though there's enough of them that they could maybe win that fight. And the Vultures are scared to engage that fight because of the tanks. So none of Haupan's units want to fight that force.
But it seems like SSCAIT kind of expects the drop to be cleared up. It's just, okay, drop the units there and they will eventually die, but they will provide a lot of value during that time. Oh, that was not a very good engagement here from SSCAIT. And now they are getting cleared up, and yeah, these are more than enough raids to clear that up. And the tank line somehow got pushed back. I think they just, what's the word, petered out, when they just melted eventually, and the resource advantage is just there.
Yeah, I don't see any gas income for... Oh, you know what? I bet Adias stops mining from geysers when they're depleted, even though you can still get gas from them.
Yeah, that's very likely. And what happened to these command centers?
It might have moved the main command center to the mineral only, or there.
Here is one command center, and that's wonky. I mean, it would be funny if you could land your command center on their enemies and crush it that way, but unfortunately that is not implemented in this game, so I think Seda is just out of resources, while Haupen is definitely not. So even though Haupen did not capitalize on the resource advantage as well as it should have, or could have, I think this will go to Haupen. So I'm speeding it up.
Yeah, with 13,000 minerals now, I would just love to see those vultures just move even into the tank lines repeatedly.
I would love to have a bribe enemy units function. Like one of the games, I think it's Age of Empires, when you can have a very late game tech when you can just bribe the enemy units and you get vision on the enemy. Okay.
Or if that gave like some Terran some form of like a mind control attack like the Protoss have, except it's a bribe.
Yeah,
but how would you bribe Zerglings?
I don't know, with treats maybe. Or tennis balls. And yeah, this is the end. So that was the long game for today. Well, we don't know that, but one long game, games of maybe a few. And I think let's take another look of the new bots next. What do you say?
Sounds good to me. So coming back to the looking at the games of the new bots that have joined while we were casting the tournament, we have Nuibot here, the I think that's Blue Zerg or Light Blue Zerg, it's hard to tell on the ice maps, and Arakhammer, the Teal Zerg, down at the bottom here on Tau Cross. So Nuibot looks like it's a bot based on rule model. For some reason I wanted to say role model when I was looking at that. And it was made as part of the student's master thesis.
Who is your role model from bots, by the way?
You know, it's hard to say. Probably either McRave or Purple Wave.
Well, Purple Wave did win the tournament last time, so it's a good argument, and some scouting going on from Nuibot here, and I think it was a Chinese university submission from a Chinese university, Nuibot.
Cool.
Looking at the SSCAIT information. And that is good to say. There are some Chinese universities that submitted bots in the recent past, and it's always good to see worldwide interest in this scene.
Definitely, yeah, just double checking it. Yeah, that's from the China University of Mining and Technology.
And this is how many pool is this? I can't see the army count.
I think it's a 9 pool.
Well, 8 technically, but yeah. How do you count it? If do you count the drone that makes the pool in the build name? Then it's a 9 pool, yeah. And it seems that it's not a very effective one at that.
Yeah, given the amount of Zerglings that Arakhammer has while also having expanded.
Yeah, I think that there are some delays here. I don't know how that happened, but Arakhammer just have more stuff and more army. Have more of everything.
ZVZ is one of those matchups too. One of the reasons why I haven't messed much with Zerg programming myself is it's a very much a toss-up type of matchup.
Well, not quite so in bot matches, I feel, because in human matches you have the attention deficit problem and the very APM intensive way of microing mutalisks, and you can't really do something else. But in bot matches, those are less of a constraint. But as we see, ZVZ can be a really quick matchup, quick resolved matchup, so to speak. And yeah, speaking of quick resolution, Arakhammer just take this game without any serious opposition. Okay, let's have the next one then. So the next game is Kangaroo Bot versus Tier Protoss. Kangaroo Bot is a random bot, and according to its description, it's a very dumb random bot, and it is a successor of Eve Bot, and it is named after the place of residence of its author, which is, you might have guessed, Australia. So it features highly advanced if statements, maybe switches even, and generally a lot of dumb meme builds. So let's see how this translates to this game actually.
And La Mancha's a pretty good. We've seen a number of PvP on this in the tournament, so it's a pretty decent map for it. And cross position, the tight bridges should be less of a factor in this.
Yeah, maybe especially in PvP. I mean, bridges are definitely a factor, but we don't have tanks at least. And yeah, in the tournament we saw a lot of this map and saw a lot of PvP on it, or PvP, a lot of PvP in general. And Tyr starting out with well, a little bit of a wall off here, while Kangaroo Bot is just making gateways. And Tyr is actually killing Kangaroo Bot's probes. That's funny.
I guess it doesn't have... yeah, I forgot that you see this sometimes on the ladder where a bot will just tell its worker to attack either like the main building or start attacking workers, just to try and take advantage of the bots that don't have any worker defense. But now the Zealot's out, so this should save the probe line a bit.
And certainly that did just happened, the taking advantage of no worker defense. And yeah, this is the logic we dubbed seal clubbing, when you know the usual weaknesses and well, maybe shouldn't call them weaknesses, but usual problems that bots have to deal with, new bots have to deal with, and not implementing the solutions to them just as yet.
Now, I wonder what Tier Protoss is doing here, because he opened up Forge first in his main, got 4 cannons, and is just now getting...
I was wondering the same thing. This is a weird place to have a wall, and this is a 2-gate cyber core and not much else.
No, that's 3 gates. No cyber core.
Oh yeah, you're right.
So why is he even... well, he is getting upgrades. I was about
core.
to say, why is he even getting gas? But the Forge is working.
Yeah, I saw the cyber core and I assumed it will be here, but no, actually Kangaroo Bot made a cyber core here without any... I think these buildings are just placed randomly here, and well...
Yeah, see the pylon in the natural.
Just build a pylon anywhere. And okay.
Well, if this was StarCraft 2, it would make more sense, since you can warp units into the pylon field.
Well,
with the warp gates.
Maybe Kangaroo Bot is just too advanced for its time.
Yeah, well, then now the cannons are paying off here for Tier Protoss, because he's able to hold back this pushback that came. But I mean, I feel like he could have easily had the units to deal with it. It's a bit odd build to see out of Tier.
Well, it is working out for Tier, but not by any conscious effort, I would guess. And
yeah, maybe Tier was thinking that he was going to kill all the workers and win that way, so it like just got cannons.
Maybe. And no expansion for Kangaroo Bot. A cannon here, just seemingly randomly placed, and this is another pylon. Okay, this is getting wacky. And no move out from Tier. Okay, robotics bay as well, along with an observatory, and now the army starts to move out. Let's slow it down.
This kind of feels like the old days of StarCraft, when human players didn't like have the APM yet to do like the mass base play and macro play that we see today. There was a lot more one base play that happened, and this game kind of feels like that.
I think you refer to elementary school StarCraft this way, when you just turtle on one base, then build as many carriers as you can, and that was the game. And
I mean,
rushing,
that was even
rushing was cheating.
Maybe not to carriers specifically, but I mean, even pro play at one point was mainly one base play.
like 15 years ago or more.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
Well, it's an old game. It's always strange to think of it as that, but it's 22 years old today.
And Kangaroobot's doing a pretty good job of defending this. With that high zealot count, was doing some damage on the Dragoons there. It's also nice to see some consistency in the building placement. While the pylons are, some of them are seemingly strangely placed, it was still trying to rebuild them on the same spots.
And I think this pylon placement is maybe aiming for maximum coverage, which is not a bad idea in itself. I can't see the ranges of this psi cover on these pylons, but I'm willing to guess that they have very little overlap. So you cover a lot of space with your psionic blanket if you place the pylons this way.
Yeah, the one thing where you'll run into a problem is when you need to plop down pylons for supply. If you don't have a rule that allows you to have some overlap, then you're gonna not be able to have enough supply to win.
Yeah, and if there are physically not enough space in the map, then you're gonna have a bad time. And now this, maybe not unpowered, but I think this Cybercore is unpowered now. It's hard to tell, but you can't tell from this replay viewer. But
yeah, that gateway up at the top is unpowered too, I would imagine. Yeah. And it looks like Tyr did take his natural behind this push.
And just
finished now.
Just finished and transferred the workers, but that's kind of a moot point already, so...
Yeah, can you click on the upgrades tab real quick? I just want to check.
Oh, actually, okay, Kangaroobot has some upgrades, even lag speed, so... Kangaroobot even has more as upgrades.
Yeah, I think Tyr was able to, in the end, take this just because he had some better engagements. Kangaroobot kept trying to engage and then retreat up the ramp, giving the Dragoons free shots on his zealots, letting them drag those down. And also, that top gateway at some point, I think early on, got unpowered. And so he was technically down a gateway compared to Tyr.
Yeah, and it was definitely a game decided on unit micro, or maybe we should say army engagement. There was not many high level unit micro here. It's just, yeah, let's say it was decided on army engagement. That's my final verdict. Anything to add?
Yeah, that was an exciting game to watch. I'm looking forward to seeing more from Kangaroobot in the future.
Yeah, it was quite a good game, and it's a random bot, so I'm looking forward to it. Alright, let's jump into the next game. And the final game for today, it's Egbert versus Dachin. Egbert we didn't really see a lot of games lately, so we decided let's just cast a game with it. Egbert is a quite good Terran from the University of some Spanish king III of Madrid. It was Manuel or Manolo. Do you remember that?
No, unfortunately.
And we can just look it up on the SSCAIT webpage, but I'm sorry, that's just... we are too lazy to do that, I guess. And some scouting going on from Egbert, and a quick expansion from Dachin, who is, I think, a Locutus fork also. And yet again, that would require, verifying that would require us to look up things and we are just not about that today.
And again, we do have the La Mancha map, which seems to be chosen a lot by the randomness.
No, RNGesus took that map for us today.
Yeah, I could probably trigger some people, about talking about how it's, pseudo-random.
Of course, there are no true randomness in computing. And pretty silent game so far. 2 barracks. So
it's actually a pretty risky quick expand there. I mean, they are cross map, but throwing down that command center before even having completed your barracks, there were 2. I don't know where they are right now. Zealots for Dachin or Dachin. Now they're going across the map. Okay, if they would have gone way earlier, Egbert wouldn't have had no answer for it.
Yeah, and it's especially strange because Egbert definitely scouted that gateway. So, and 2 zealots versus I don't know if one marine in a bunker could repel that. Probably not. Maybe two of them can.
With enough SCVs, you probably could, but then the Zealot could just walk right by.
But definitely it was a risky play, but I think Egbert is in a good position now and making some factories. So I'm guessing this will be a tank plus marine combo here. And do we have an academy? No, so... but we do have a fleet beacon somewhere.
Yeah, I just noticed that. I was like, wait, is our carriers already coming out?
Yeah, apparently. We have a carrier in progress. And then there is the academy. So it's probably wants to be...
Sorry about that.
No problem. And that probably will be or wants to be a tank and bio play. Yeah, I finished that sentence, I managed it. And yeah, we have carriers. Carrier has arrived. Well, not just yet, but we have a 2 StarGate carrier play here. Well,
I mean, that's faster than Thomas Vida, I think.
Yeah. And first carrier is out. Yet again, a risky play, but I mean, if Battery manages to build like 4 carriers, Egbert has no answer. Although the armory is in progress now. Maybe Egbert scouted that somehow. I don't think that's really possible.
I don't think he did. Yeah, I mean, he did have a vulture out at the front of the natural, but no, I don't think he actually saw the fleet beacon or anything.
No, you can't really. You can't really. And I think Egbert is in. Well, maybe not, because 1 carrier is not that much, and we have 3 golets and some bio. So it is no cause for alarm just yet. Oh, and there are some raids, and if they actually have invisibility, then this carrier is in trouble. Do we have invisibility? No, it seems that we do not. Okay, actually the goon count is somewhat worrying though, but we have tanks. And these tanks just got rolled up.
Yeah, they just got some Dragoon hugs.
Yep, they were hacked to that, but the interceptor count is not really rising. Let's look at the army tab. We have 13 interceptors from 3 carriers, sorry. That's not a lot, and they die all the time. Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, Marines in sufficient numbers will chew up interceptors.
Yeah, carriers can have a snowball effect, and 1 or 2 carriers are not good and not cost-efficient way of engaging. And we don't have invisibility, and that could just win this engagement here, because no detection. Do we even have an observatory for Protoss? I don't think so.
I don't think. Can you check the production tab?
Yeah.
Yeah, looks like one is under construction, but yeah, an advantage could have been had there for a little bit and even pushed this back already. Absolutely.
A lot of advantage could have been had for these raids, but the opportunity is gone. And these carriers are very tough. They have the one of the highest base armors in the game. Oh, and the 3rd base getting taken by Egbert, but I'm not sure that he can hold it. Tanks kind of blocking the anti-air units here. Although 3 bases are already done for a while now. Oh, actually 4 bases for the chainsaw. Not looking good for Egbert.
Yeah, I'm kind of trying to watch like the carrier movement a little bit too. Would be nice to see them trying to position more like in spaces that are harder to actually target.
Yeah, we have
like
this,
the ones just kind of sitting there in the middle.
We have this oil lake or something here. That would be a good position, and you just let your interceptors out in long range. But a lot of minerals are getting lost by wasting interceptors like this. And I think this is the point when Egbert should just build as many missile turrets as he possibly can, because he has the resources, but there is not much else to do, really.
Yeah, I mean, he's also pumping out the Goliaths, but now there's more of a larger ground army, which is going to require more tanks, and I think he only has 2 of them right now.
Yeah, and they are unsieging for some reason. but
They're doing the siege and unsiege dance.
Yeah.
Until they die.
A lot of bots have that quirk, and the siege and siege logic is just get stuck in a loop. And now we have reached the critical mass of carriers, I think. Even though there are only 3 at this place, but oh wait, no, that's at least 4. They are just stacked on top of each other, and we have 6 carriers total. And I think this is just the beginning of the end for Egbert. I see no way Egbert breaking this carrier count.
Yeah, he would need to pull those 2 Goliaths that are down there fighting that Dragoon back and like just build up a force in your natural, kind of give up that 3rd. Which again is something that we see bots struggle with, the concept of I need to abandon defending that position and prepare to defend another one.
Yeah, and now the ground army just walks in because
there's nobody in the bunker.
No. And that's also something that I don't like seeing then, when you just empty out the bunker and go on your merry way. And some bots even destroy bunkers, which I can't really understand.
Well, I can see sometimes, like, if you're going like full mech, like destroy the bunker if it's in the way of your army getting out efficiently. You see human players do that sometimes.
Yeah, and most of the time I don't agree with that decision.
Fair enough. Yeah, this was a pretty cool game to watch here. The very quick carrier rush ended up paying off. They both kind of went a risky route, and in different ways it paid off for each of them, but it paid off enough for Dashin to take the win here.
Yeah, not taking stealth on the raids was definitely a missed opportunity. I'm not saying mistake because it's really hard to write about, and just thinking about all of this, well, it's you can't really account for everything. But still, Egbert fought a good fight, and it was an entertaining game. And I think that concludes our cast for this week. We are kind of in a chill state after the tournament, but updates will come every week as they did. So thanks for watching, and goodbye until next week.
Thank you, and have a good night.